Okay, welcome everybody to the big show. This is show number 3. We've got a great group of masters here. This is a regular competition show, a photography competition show with a bit of a twist. And if it's your first time seeing it, you'll see what that twist is as we kind of get into it. All right, so what we do every week is we invite in 5 masters from the Arcanum, and they come in representing one of their apprentices. Every master has about 20 apprentices or so, and they level them up. And apprentices are making some amazing work here, and we thought this would be a really fun way to feature them and kind of a really fun competition for us all just to get together and just talk about photography and geek out and that sort of thing. All right, so let's start with introductions. And also, during your introduction, you can show what you're drinking, whatever you happen to be drinking. Tonight I'm having 2 Sisters Riesling, fantastic Riesling from New Zealand. I feature a different New Zealand wine each week, so this will be the one being featured thusly. Gino, what do you got going on over there?
Well, I'm just finishing off the Whataburger chocolate shack, the Choco Wham, and then I'm going to be moving into the 20-year-old Barter House. This is from the Orphan Barrel Whiskey Company, and it's very delicious. It has nutty tones, and when I drink it, it makes my nose feel funny.
Does it get a little red on the tip, maybe? You go a little Rudolph. All right, next up, let's get introductions from the masters. Let's start with you, Laurie Rubin.
Well, hello, everybody. First of all, I'm drinking coffee because I want to be, you know, very alert and awake for this. So I want to be on top of everything here. So you guys go ahead and get drunk. Okay. So anyway, so I'm Laurie. I'll just give you a really quick background. So I've worked in software companies almost all my life, from Adobe to Nick Software to Google, and now I'm with MacFun. I do a lot of teaching, post-processing, so I love this, and I love the Arcanum. It's great. I have 2 cohorts now that are joined into one, and they're having a blast, and I love each and every one of them. And Trey, do you want us to share a little something different about ourselves? I think.
Yeah, that would be good. But I forgot that you had 2 cohorts. In a way, you have a great advantage because you have a bigger pool to choose from.
Well, actually, I have 17 people now, so it's okay.
Okay.
We're okay, yeah. But
yes, you can share a little
awesome.
Ray Rubin fun fact. Go for it.
Here's a fun fact. This is show and tell, actually. So for those of you who don't know, I fly copters. I actually have 2 of these DJI quadcopters. And I love to do it. It's a lot of fun. It gives you a whole new perspective, looking up from the air down to the ground. And I've been doing it, gosh, it's almost been a year now. So it's a blast. And I know, Trey, you fly too. So.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're so fun. I made many bad decisions with those quadcopters. It's fantastic.
Yes, isn't it though? Ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that what your cohort specializes in, is quadcoptering?
No, actually, we're wildlife and nature cohort. Yes, so that's just a little extra factoid.
Speaking of nature and quadcoptering, have you seen that they did it to a dead cat? They got a stiff cat and used each. Yeah.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't decide if that's cruel or funny. I don't know. It's already dead though.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of gross.
That was a real dead cat? I thought that was a joke.
I don't know. It's hard to know. I saw it on the internet, though. Okay, next up, James Brand.
That's gotta be true. Hey, guys. I'm James. I'm a travel and landscape photographer. I live here in Texas with Cliffy B over there. And I mainly do education now online. So I have a group here in the Arcanum, which is definitely the best one. I think that's not even a competition. And yeah, that's about it. Random fact about me: I fly airplanes, and I have to go do my my 2-year check-in sometime this next month. So I'm a little nervous about that. My biannual.
Right on. By the way, hey, is anyone else seeing James as black?
Yes.
He just turned. He just came back around, but he's mostly.
You may want to reconnect because we can't actually see you talking, James.
Oh no,
it's a shame. Okay, next up, the aforementioned Cliff Baise.
Hello. My name is Cliff Baise. I'm a photographer and artist here in North Texas. Of course, my cohort is the most awesome one, and we're going to dominate you guys, so we're all about that. Just had a little quote from Tywin Lannister. It just says, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep." So we're just going to take that into consideration on this challenge here this week. So that's what we got.
All right, Game of Stoned. Okay. Next up, Doug Kaye.
Well, clearly Cliff Baise must be smoking something because my cohort is far the most awesome. We have 17 members. Each one of them could kick the butts of anyone else in any of the other cohorts represented here today. Personally, I'm mostly a street photographer. Our cohort is in the general photography category, but we do, well, that means we do pretty much everything. I spend a lot of my time reviewing gear for a show with Frederick Van Johnson called All About the Gear. Do a new camera every 2 weeks, which means I get no time to do my own photography. But I do a lot of teaching, the Arcanum and other places. Got a workshop to Cuba coming up in 6 weeks, and I also fly airplanes, although my medical, everything's lapsed. I don't have to take BFRs anymore, James. I'm lucky.
Nice.
Because that's abusive. That's a horrible thing to have to do every 2 years. But my claim to fame is, Laurie, I have flown real helicopters. I have exactly 2 hours in helicopters and made an attempt to hover over the Statue of Liberty and failed miserably.
Oh.
Whoa.
It's a good place to test out your hover skills.
Yeah, well, with 2 hours, believe me, it's not possible.
So, Trey, is there a theme working here tonight that I was not informed about? Everybody either flies an actual plane, gets it up in a quadcopter, or gets high.
Yeah, it's one of the three. Sometimes all three at the same time with this crowd.
Yeah.
That's Gino, always looking for the patterns.
Yeah. Right.
By the way, another pattern. Have you noticed, Gino, that these masters have brought their game? They're throwing down the gauntlet early.
Yeah, I hate to give the credit to where it's actually due. I usually just try to take the credit. But Karen Hutton got this ball rolling right on the first show. The other Arcanum masters were unprepared for the onslaught of Karen Hutton's gamesmanship, and then it's just been increasing every week. I love it. Cliff and Doug, I thought they were about ready to just cyber spar right there on the spot. It's good. I love it.
All right.
Oh, and I am drinking Pezzy King Zinfandel tonight.
Very nice. Very nice. Cliff, what are you up to over there? You didn't say.
I'm just drinking water. I mean, gotta stay sharp for this. So yeah.
Did you say you were smoking through a bong of water? I didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, I am in Texas, and it is still illegal. So yeah.
We don't know what you're talking about, Gino. All right. Number 5 on the program, number 1 in your heart, Glen Guy.
Thanks, Trey. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Glen. I've got a wonderful community that I'm responsible for. It's nominally general photography, but it tends to be mainly landscape that we deal with. But we're open to everything over there. We've actually got a half a dozen new apprentices that have just arrived in the last day or two, so that's going to add a whole lot of new spice and colour to the community. But, it's a wonderful thing. I know you guys are as enthusiastic about the whole concept as I am, and it's just really, really wonderful now that it's being realised, in real time. So it's fantastic. I've been in the industry for quite a long time, 35 years. So I started in retail. I had to make a couple of notes because I'd forgotten. I started in retail. I went into newspaper photography. I ran a wedding portrait studio. I worked at Kodak. I started in manufacture, and I ended up in product management. And then I had sort of a tertiary career. I did a lot of formal study in photography and then taught it for a number of years. I'm a generalist, which I think sets me up well for teaching because I know a little bit about a lot of things. but I really am a master of nothing. But I have a genuine interest in pretty much all kinds of photography, so yeah, I love it. I love what I do, and I'm really happy to be involved today. Oh, and I'm drinking water.
All right.
1 p.m. 1 p.m. here.
All right, and last, let's introduce a few of the heroes of the Arcanum that are joining us here. Stuart, you go, and then Tiff, you go.
Okay, I'm Stuart Davidson. I'm from just outside Edinburgh in Scotland, currently level 18 as of today in the Arcanum. I'm working on my level 18 photo trips over just the past weekend, and my website is just over my shoulder, and I help to produce the show. So, in terms of what I'm drinking whiskey beer. So
Whoa.
that's
What?
beer. Yes. So they take the beer and they take it to the whiskey casks, and then they condition it, and you get a nice kick behind it. So it's very good.
Oh yeah.
All right, and Tiff.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Tiff. I'm part of Ron Clifford's Cohort, and I'm also do some stuff for the Arcanum, doing some stuff on their social channels and whatnot. I do some landscape photography, and I'm starting to do a bit more conceptual photography stuff. And I'm drinking water because I'm also in Australia, a few hours away from Sydney. And yeah, it's also the middle of the day here for me too.
So Tiff does a million
Stop and
things.
Trey.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock here. Not that you need a reason for this early. But, and the show goes on for 3 hours. So sometimes longer. Tiff does a million different things, and one thing she's going to start doing is sharing the high-res versions of these photos that were being submitted into this competition on all the Arcanum social channels. And it'll be sort of a regular thing. I'm hearing an echo again. Does anyone else hear that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, on your voice.
James, you have on earphones now, right? So it's not you.
Yep. It only happens when you talk.
Maybe I should just stop doing that.
I think it's the internet's way of saying that the more times we can hear Trey say the same thing over and over again, the better.
I don't think the internet would ever say that now. So we're going to talk a little Sony A7ii news here in a second. But first, while Arcanum people are watching, I want to give a quick little Arcanum announcement. Something kind of cool that we've been working on. So, we're just about to open up Sphere 2, which is levels 21 to 30. I'm still hearing an echo. Maybe other people can mute and just in case. I don't know. But we have 3 masters that are kind of building out a sample curriculum. I hate to use that word because it's so traditional and we're so non-traditional. But on this first focus sphere. So, for example, Robin Griggs Wood came up with a questing guide for level 21, 22, 23, all the way through 30. And hers is specific to the kind of stuff that she does, the amazing kind of stuff that she does. Whereas we might compare it to John Arnold, who had his own kind of portraiture type quest. So his quest from level 20, level 30 are very, very different. So this sort of basic template is gone. A third track, for example, is Ron Clifford, level 21 to level 29. So they basically finished. The next step is we're going to make this kind of presentable. It'll still be quite secret. We don't want to unveil all of the quests that might be happening. Besides, you never really know which master is going to be choosing you as you go to beyond level 20. So there's a little bit of a surprise factor in there, but the most important thing that I want people to know is that when you graduate, again, another word I don't like to use because hopefully you'll never leave the Arcanum. You just kind of keep going from master to master, level 30, level 40, level 50. But what happens is that when you get beyond this first 20 levels, which is just the beginning, just the foundation, then you get into this focus area where an individual master will have a set of 10 levels for you, all individual quests that's perfected and meant just for you. So it gets even more personal. I know you already think it's personal, but just wait for the focus spheres because it just gets totally cray-cray up there. All right. So anyway, we hope to present that pretty soon. There's some other secret things happening in the background that I don't want to spoil, so we'll all be kind of unveiled at the same time. It's going to be awesome. Okay. So we were talking about before the show, like a fun, interesting news item to talk about or something. And one of the things I'm most excited about is this new Sony A7ii that they just announced. It looks pretty cool. So I want to start the discussion with Doug Kaye, who's sort of like, I always think of like a Wikipedia with a mustache. So you go, Doug, tell us what's so awesome about this new camera.
Oh, well, how to follow that, Trey? Thanks. It's well, the A7, is only 1 year old. It's hard to imagine. It was a breakthrough camera because it's a full-frame mirrorless camera, the only mirrorless full-frame with a viewfinder, with an electronic viewfinder. So the new one that they just came out with, which sort of surprised a lot of people, has in-body image stabilization. This is a real breakthrough. A lot of people said that they wouldn't even be able to do that with a full-frame camera, but anyway, they have in-body image stabilization. The beauty of that is it works with all lenses, including primes from Leica and Voigtlander and Zeiss. You can use it with virtually any lens that you can attach to that body. $1,700. They've done a few improvements. They moved the shutter around a little bit. Shutter button. It's a little bit larger, a little better weather sealing. But still the same great camera.
Is anyone else in here an A7 shooter other than me and Doug?
Yes, me.
Yes.
All right. Are you guys A7 II curious?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Trey, are you going to get one?
Yes, I am going to get one. I don't have I'm not officially sponsored by Sony or anything, but they do occasionally send me stuff. And I bought my A7R, but they are sending out an A7 II to play with. And Curtis is actually coming to live here in New Zealand with me for 4 months. Not with me, but at a friend's place down the road. And he's going to bring one with him. I can't wait to play with the thing.
Yeah, I had all three. I had the A7, A7R, and the A7S. I just sold my A7. I'm not going to get this new one. I love the R and I love the S, and I'm going to wait for an updated S, I think. That's the one I'm looking forward to.
What do you shoot with, James?
Yeah, right now I've got the A7, and I use that 95% of the time, and I've got a Canon 6D just backup. That probably has like 500 actuations on it.
So, Doug or anybody, what is the benefit? I mean, obviously, you're sitting here talking about, it's 5-axis steady shot image stabilization. What does that mean in real world terms to, your everyday average shooter?
The main thing it allows you to do is use slow shutter speeds. Now, of course, that assumes that your subject's not moving very fast, or that you don't care that your subject's moving fast. But if you want to shoot with a 100mm lens and shoot at a 25th of a second, image stabilization allows you to actually do that. So that's the main advantage.
So, Doug, do you know, is there going to be a switch on the camera body to turn the stabilization off, like would be on a lens, or is it just going to be smart enough to?
I wish there was. You have to go into the menus, unfortunately. There's no. Now it may be they've got a couple of they have an extra function button that's programmable, so you'll be able to get to it relatively quickly. But unfortunately, there's no direct switch to turn it on and off.
I wonder if it's just going to be smart enough to turn itself off if it senses that it's on a tripod.
I wish, but I doubt it.
I doubt it.
That's the thing. Doesn't it? And the reason you guys are bringing that up is, and I'm not a full expert on this either, but I remember when I used to have image stabilized lenses on my Nikon, that everyone always said to turn that off if you're on a tripod and doing HDR, because it tries to stabilize each shot a little differently, which can miss. Your tripod shot is almost useless at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's real too. I remember like probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was still getting like my business up and running, and I got a brand new prime 100mm lens and did a whole photo shoot, a product shoot for this gun store in Fort Worth, and I got home and all of my images were out of focus, and I was so mad, and I tracked it down to that little switch that I forgot to turn off, and then I went back and had to redo the shoot, and everything was good.
All right, so if everybody turns this feature off, then why would anybody rush out and get the A7ii?
Well, we're only talking about that one kind of tripod situation, and I don't know about you guys, but I find myself using a tripod less and less during the daytime. I just go handheld, especially the Sony A7R is so already fast and so amazing. If there's enough ambient light out there, I'll just take all three of my brackets just standing there, and I think it's just fine. And so I think the A7R or the next one, the 2, will amp that game up even more, and I might even be able to shoot like later into the night. I always pull out my tripod like at sunset or at night. I mean, you got to. Yeah. But in those cases where I don't, I think this thing is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Who else shot with one? Did you say?
I do, yeah.
Glen? You do, Stu?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
The old whiskey bear shoots with one.
Yes. Although I don't know if I do now, actually, because I dropped it in the river at the weekend. So it hasn't been turned back on since then. We'll save that for another few days and see how it goes. But yeah, until the weekend I did. It was great. Really enjoyed using it.
Did it go full submerged?
Yes. So it was about...
It's supposed to be water resistant.
Well, yeah, slightly water, more than the NEX was, but not fully not river proof. I don't think.
I did that when I got my D800, and I had the 14 to 24 millimeter, and we took a trip to Colorado, and I was straddling a moss-covered log over this river to take a shot, and I went face first right into the river, and I was trying to like hold my camera up out of the water, but I went all the way in. And I came out, immediately took the batteries out, and it was perfectly fine. So Nikon D800.
Yeah.
See, I witnessed one of my apprentices submerging himself neck deep in the Buffalo River in Arkansas, and he didn't save any of his Nikon stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I had 2 Nikons break. I had a D3X break and a D800E break. So they're not as tough. I haven't had a single Sony break yet. Although every situation is different, of course.
I had an interesting experience. I went to Iceland with 14 photographers. Everybody had a DSLR, either a D810 or a 5D Mark III. I was the only one with mirrorless gear, and they all laughed at me. Except that a lot of those Canons and Nikons stopped working, and I'm really sloppy. I don't use lens caps. I change lenses in the rain, and my Sony's never stopped working at all.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I had to turn my Canon off in Death Valley because it was flashing at me, telling me to turn it off when it was 125 degrees outside.
Now, Doug, did you say you're fixing to go to Cuba? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I've got a workshop in Cuba January 15th.
Man, I would love to go shoot Cuba. I've never been there.
It's great. This will be my 3rd trip, and it's just a great place. And in fact, if you want to do, urban street photography, and everything else sort of pales by comparison.
Now, are there really as many like 1940s and 50s, Chevrolets and Buicks rolling around as it makes it look like whenever you see pictures of Cuba?
There are more than you can imagine.
Wow.
Everything from those that barely run to those that are absolutely gorgeous. Because in 1959, Cuba decided to go a different direction from the rest of the planet, and so they don't have any 57 Chevys. It's the one car they can't get because they're too popular here in the States. But they have everything except 57 Chevys for some reason.
It sounds like a fun trip. I'd love to go down there with you, Doug. That sounds amazing. How many times have you been?
This will be my 3rd trip, and I'm going to do it again probably sometime next year, late in the year when it gets cool again.
Yeah, that sounds.
I'll
awesome.
let you know.
Cool. Yeah, please do. All right. Well, let's move into the actual competition. All right. We're going to go in a certain order. We tried this last week. It was much easier on us. Made more sense. So we're going to start with Laurie, and for people that are just watching the show for the first time, here's how it works. She will introduce one of her apprentices. She'll kind of give us a up-close and personal type Olympic story. They were born on the streets and had a tough life, and then they found a DSLR in a gutter, and whatever the story is, it's going to be amazing. You can play it up. Little dramas, all right. So first we're going to all fall in love with these apprentices, and then they will share maybe 1, 2, 5 pieces of work. It doesn't matter. And then they're going to show the final piece of work that they're going to introduce into the competition. That's going to be the big one, and then the other masters are going to critique it. All right. And at the end, there will be some very complex voting. There'll be a lot of controversy with the scoring system. There's a lot of confusion at that point in the show. Okay. But until then, things will float smoothly. Starting with you, Laurie.
Oh, right. Well, I just want to say I am really, really excited to be able to share Trisha Booker with you. She was actually one of my first apprentices about 9 months ago in April when we first started, and she's a horse photographer. So she has actually, shot over 5,000 photos of horses. This is her livelihood. But she was looking to do more, and because we're a wildlife and nature group, she wanted to get out and try some new things. And she said that when she was listening to a podcast and she heard about the Arcanum, and she said she literally stopped the car, she pulled out her laptop, and she filled out the application in the parking lot. So she's totally excited. I just totally enjoy working with her and all my apprentices. They are just, I love them so much. I have to say, when I graduated or moved one of my apprentices up to the next sphere, Mandy, I had tears in my eyes when I was giving the last critique because, you've grown and seen them grow as little kids, and now you're pushing them out of the nest. So, you really get attached to these folks, and I love each and every one of them. They're just fantastic. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll take a look at some of her work. Let me go ahead and share this, and if you could, let me know if you can, see that screen there. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, there's Trisha Booker. She's awesome.
Yay, she is awesome, isn't she? So let's see here. I think I've got, let me just pull up this other window here because now I'm sharing that. Not that. Hold on here. I'm sorry.
I'd love to see a master with her tools.
Hold on here. I had it all set up, believe it or not. So I think what I have to do, let me just reshare my screen because it's not sharing it. Hold on. I give these critiques. I give these critiques all the time, and piece of cake until now. Okay, let's see if this is gonna work.
It's okay. This is all actually all the Arcanum is just it's a trick just to make people use Hangouts and use every possible.
Okay, so you see this now? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do here, let's see if this works. This is actually the Arcanum intro to the Arcanum, and she is actually showcased on here. So.
Can see her but not hear her.
Yeah, we don't hear anything yet.
You don't see anything?
We can see it, but we just can't hear it.
Yeah, no noise.
Okay. All right. So basically, I'll just scoot on through here. She was picked as one of those people to showcase, and so Peter's talking through and saying how she was really excited about being in Arcanum, and she wrote a big blog post about it, so it was really exciting to see that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out, show some of her images here. Now see, now I've got the spinning wheel. Okay. All right, so the very first one here, do you see the horse jumping?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and see if I get this slideshow up here.
Corporate sponsored by Morgan Stanley.
All
She's
right.
taking her game to the next level altogether, Trey. She's sponsoring her cohort.
I am, yes, yes. So this is what Trisha does. She goes out into these events, Grand Prix shows, and she takes photos of horses jumping over, things, and it's a real challenge. People don't realize that you have to capture these horses in midair at a certain position. You have to get yourself in the right spot. You're in the middle of the arena. You've got, harsh shadow and lights, but she's a real master at being able to capture these horses. So here's another one. This is event jumping. And you can see she's got some nice tones throughout her entire image here. Let me just go in another one here. This one she said was really touching to her because this particular horse is being retired and she won first place in a major Grand Prix show. And you can see it's raining, but the real determination of the face of him and this horse looking forward, and she's got that really kind of nice combination happening here. And then she has some magazine covers that she's recently been showcased in. So she's got a couple of those covers. And that's pretty exciting. And then what I want to do is I want to start showing you, I encouraged her to go out and take some photos of birds and even going to the zoo. And Trey, I want to say that you actually critiqued one of her works in one of the first critiques to kind of talk about the creation wars. And you told her that she missed it. She missed the mark. So what we are here to do is, well, this is redemption for Trisha. Okay.
So I will allow redemption.
Yes, yes. It wasn't a nature shot, but she tried. So I'll show you what we did here. One of the things that we do with our apprentices within this cohort is we get a lot of great feedback from everyone. And one of the things I really want them to do is focus on the background, which I think is almost as important as a subject. So here she took a shot of this egret. And then by cropping in and getting rid of that extra debris, you can see it just makes for a much better photo. So we're really into a lot of post-processing. Of course, we like to get it right in the camera. But here's a picture of a hummingbird. She cropped it, and of course it's a much better photo this way. So you can see that. Now, because we're wildlife, some people have wildlife in the backyards or they're able to travel. But in the meantime, what I really encourage them to do is to go out to zoos. And there's a lot of challenges. You have fences, you have glass, and so we're working around that. Here's an image of a lion, young lion, that's against some fencing. And
by the way, Laurie, you did say horse a few times in that last...
I did. Should I stop?
Never mind, go ahead.
Okay, I told you I would say that. Okay, but you can see we can get images from here to here. So just getting around some of those challenges. Here's another picture of a lion, and she's really developed an eye for post-processing. So you can see, you know, all of her adult years basically she's been shooting and photographing horses, and now she's looking at different animals, getting different post-processing techniques down, and I think she did a really nice job of this lion. And then I want to show you the one that I want to put forth for this Creation Wars. And I want to show you the before and the after. So this is our before, a nice lion here at the zoo. And then she turned it into this. And I think this is beautiful. She's got, I mean, just amazing. Look at the difference between this and this one here. So she's been using a lot of new tools. And she's been watching actually quite a few of my webinars. It's kind of funny. I do webinars for MacFun, and I notice the people that pop up there. And there she is. So, but I love this, the great tonality. She's got the fur that's really defined, this beautiful clarity of the eyes, and I think this is just a real capture of an essence of a lion. So I think she did a fantastic job on this, and I'm just really proud of how far she's come along with her animal work. So that is my pick for her. Okay.
Wow, really cool shot. Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah,
okay, so now we begin the critiques. So normally in the Arcanum, we have these rather gargantuan critique sessions. And so, like when you're an apprentice in here, every 5 levels you get a critique, and these can sometimes go on for quite a long time, you know, maybe 20, 30 minutes, maybe like an hour for some of these overachievers that we have. But this is going to be a super short critique, not like those longer critiques. So maybe 15 or 20 seconds per person, starting with James Brandon.
Unmute. All right, so we're going to be critiquing this shot from Laurie's Apprentice, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Over.
awesome. All right, so with several of those shots, it was amazing like how you could make such a big difference from cropping it in and just completely removing the environment that they were in. And that's not easy to do all the time. You really have to play around with the crops and the compositions, and especially that one where she turned it to black and white and just took away the fence by dropping the shadows down in that section. That was really good. So my overall impression is that, yeah, it's a great shot. I love the look in the lion's eyes and how it's looking away from the camera. As far as critiques go, I'd say the saturation could come down on it a little bit. It's a little bit too overboard for me, especially just some of those key sections like above his left eye and an ear, and it looks like there's almost a stripe of saturation that goes through it. But all right, that's probably more than 20 seconds.
All right, cool. Cliff, you're up third.
Okay, cool. Unmute. Hold on. Oh, I'm unmuted. Okay,
We got
check. 1, 2. Got you. Here we go. Okay. I love it. I love the colors and everything. I like the way that you can see all the details and the catch light in the eyes and almost like the spots on the tiger's head is really cool. The only thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is just a little bit of blues in some of the white fur, and the dark blacks and the lips and the eyes seem like it has a blue tint to it. I wouldn't mind seeing that reduced just a little bit. So that's all I've got.
Very good. Doug Kaye, where it's always the month of Movember.
I was going to say the same thing as Cliff about the blues or cyans there. I think it's really distracting. I think the image might have been toned a little bit. But, I mean, let me say it's a great image. Don't get me wrong. I really think it's beautiful. But the blues and cyans I find distracting. Also, on the right side of the image, the left side of the lion's head, that the fact that the mane is so contrasty there, my eye tends to be pulled away from the lion's eye a little bit towards that very contrast area of mane. I wish the contrast were reduced a little bit there so my focus could really go back to the lion's eye.
Awesome. Okay, last, Glen Guy.
And I'm sorry, is it possible, Laurie, to show me the picture for 2 seconds?
Oh, you don't see it?
You can click on it yourself. You can, by the way, anyone in the Hangout can click on whatever little square they want to, and they can activate that.
Okay, thank you.
Like, for example, I've been staring only at Stu's photo for the past 30 minutes.
Well, I would say it is a successful picture. It's interesting that there's not that the line is not looking into space, and normally, you know, because it's a portrait. Normally, a portrait you would have the eyes looking into space, so it adds a bit of extra tension to the photograph. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I just make the point of that it's a little untraditional, I suppose. I think the colour cast that Doug talked about, that sort of cyany blue colour, is also probably a little bit distracting in the near white areas of the face. But the warm colours are really nice, and it's got some nice textures, although maybe the textures could be enhanced a little more, though that could be a bit lost in this video. So overall, I like it. I'd actually like to see it in black and white as well.
Yeah, I agree with all that. That's a great shot, Laurie. I think it's fantastic. Good job, Tricia. I especially like the softness over on the right side. It's so soft and flowy, the mane over on the right. And I love seeing the before and after. You know, I actually hate showing before and afters of my photos because I don't know what it is. I don't want people to see the before because it's just like so sucky. And then the after is usually so awesome. I'm like, forget about the before. But then when I see other people do before and afters, I'm like, wow, it's so awesome. It actually makes me want to do before and after. So really cool stuff. All right. That's just me being intellectually inconsistent. Okay, next up, James Brandon.
Yes, yes. All right, let me get my screen up. All right. Can you guys see?
Yes.
All right. All right. My my apprentice that I'm bringing in to the battle tonight. I'm going to butcher his name. He's from Canada, but I just call him Fred. We all call him Fred. But it's you know what? I'm just gonna skip it. I'm not gonna try to say his name. You can read it up there in the top right and and create your own conclusions there. But we call him Fred, and Fred is just one of the coolest guys I've been able to meet through this whole experience. I just love his heart and his passion. Like I said, he lives up in Canada, and he just makes me so jealous because he's like, oh yeah, got off work today and went and shot this, and got off work today and went over these mountains, and he just gets, I live in Texas, so you know what it's like, Trey. So it's just, we don't really have anything like that. And, he goes out into these amazing places of just absolute wilderness in Canada and produces some incredible results. And he, like I said before, he's just so passionate about it, and he loves going out and creating and limiting himself and trying new things. And he's just, he's captured so many things that I really want to one day and make it up to Canada finally. But, you can see some of his, and he's not afraid to like branch out and try new things either. And even if they don't work sometimes. I've preached that a lot in my cohort, that people try to avoid mistakes so often, and that's really what makes us grow, is by going out and trying things that don't work and then trying something new. And so anyways, this is Fred's image that I wanted to bring tonight. He included it in his latest album of new works, and I was scrolling through his images in the album, and then I just stopped on this one, and I couldn't stop looking at it. And it's just so simple. And my first reaction when I saw it was all the seemingly distorted, field of view in the shot, because it feels like it's kind of got like a fisheye feel to it. So then when I saw that he shot this with a 70-200, it was really quite spectacular. And the depth of field and just the overall moodiness of it, with the warm sunlight coming in from sunset and creating this sun flare that actually works with the composition of the image because of the curve. And I couldn't find anything about this image that I would change. So that's it. Go Fred.
Awesome image. Okay, Laurie. Hey, Laurie, by the way, you can unscreen share so we can see your smiling master face whenever you have a chance. And then when you're ready, you can critique this photo of James.
Okay.
Good luck.
Unless, Laurie, you have actually,
I have unscreened. You guys can't
oh,
see
there
it.
you are. Okay.
Yeah,
Why was it? Okay, I saw another lion mane. I didn't know.
Ah,
go.
That's, yes. Okay. No, I love this. I think this is a really nice shot, getting so low on the ground and getting these real intimate moments of these, this little macro shot here. I love the sun flare, and there's these, the circles of confusion, lots of circular things happening, even from that kind of circular, wispy, center here that's in focus. So I think it's a really delightful image here. One of the things I like to do is when I look at images, and I tell my apprentices too, is to squint at an image and see where your eye goes. And of course, it goes to the brightest areas. But there's a few things that are a little bit distracting. This down on the very bottom, there's this bright yellow spot here. That's a little distracting to me. And if I were him, I would maybe either clone that out or maybe change the saturation on this just a bit. The upper left-hand corner, we've got another spot kind of hanging out here on the left-hand side. So there's a couple things to clean up. And I can't tell, it's probably the resolution. I see some banding, and I'm sure it has to do with this, looking at it through Google+. But I'd be real careful to make sure there isn't any noise and any banding in this. I don't know that you folks can see it, but anyway, that's just my two critiques here, is that spot there on the bottom and also on the left-hand side. But yeah, it's a really nice macro.
All right, cool. Cliff, you're up.
Okay, well, I'm trying to think of something to say about this. I noticed a spot too at the bottom. I would have probably removed that during the edge creeper session at the end of the photo creation. I could just jokingly say that it's just a little too shallow of depth of field, but I'm just kidding. It's fine. I don't know. I like it. I like the way that the eye flows up into the right there, kind of circular. There's a lot of circles going on there with the bokeh, and just, I don't know.
It's bokeh, Cliff.
Is it? I don't know. Is potatoes?
Jesus.
Some potatoes for dinner?
Jesus.
Okay, cool. Next.
All right, awesome. Doug Kaye.
Yeah, I agree with what Laurie and Cliff said. The squint test, pulls my eye up to the upper left, of course, where the sun or the sky are. They're very bright. This image, I'm surprised that you picked this one, James, because I thought some of Fred's other images were actually better. For me, I find that it sort of vibrates. I jump around between all the points that are in focus, from the right side, little sprigs, then I go down to the left, and I jump back to the right, and I jump to the left. It works better for me if I pull back and look at it from a slightly farther distance. But this doesn't quite do it for me.
Lame.
Very good. Glen Guy.
Thanks, Trey. I like the shot. I think it's very pretty, and I hope that's an okay word to use. I think it is really quite a lovely photograph. I think when we look at photographs, particularly as photographers, we can look at them in several ways. We can look at them technically. We can look at them from a standpoint of uniqueness, or emotively, emotive response. And I think this one really ticks two of those boxes. It's quite unique in the way it's been seen by the photographer and the way it's been recorded, and it's an emotive image because of the warmth and the mystery. So I think it's successful. On the technical side, yeah, I think I'd echo the points that Laurie and one of the guys made. I've forgotten who. But I think particularly the bright sky in the background, kind of near the horizon in the middle, that does look a little bit too bright to me, but it's a small thing overall. I think it's a very successful image. Maybe you could drag attention to one or two areas of the photograph for a bit of local sharpening. That'd be the only other thing. But it's very nice.
Great.
Gino, did you hear Doug Kaye throw that bomb in there?
Yes, I appreciated it quite a bit. But that's what Doug brings to the party. He drops bombs. He throws haymakers.
He does. Wonderful. Okay, good. I like the conflict. I'm okay with that. You just got to ride the conflict. It's okay. Neither good nor bad. It is what it is. All right. Next up, Cliff, representing the Baise cohort.
Okay, here we go. So, in looking for my photo to represent the war today, I've picked one of our newest members, and her name is Lucia Federa. I knew I was going to butcher it. There's a rolling R in her name. Anyway, we call her Lucy. It's kind of like James's deal. So, anyway, she brings awesomeness to our cohort. She's extremely creative and has a great imagination, and she executes her images excellently. So with any further ado, let me see if I can pull up this. Here we go.
By the way, I saw a cat back there with shining eyes. Did anybody else see that? Do you have a cat?
Yeah, the cat's back there. Let's see. Okay. Make sure I get this right. Uh-oh. Lost my mouse. Hang on. Here we go. Oh. My mouse keeps stopping. Sorry.
I have a feeling I'm not going to like the image that Doug shares.
I have a feeling the same is true, yes. I'm prepared.
Could you guys get me? I need to replace my mouse batteries. Sorry about that. I've lost my mouse connection. So if you could just move on to the next person,
No, it's okay. That means we can jump right into the controversy, because next up for bid is Doug Kaye. And I feel...
So I was inspired by Robin's video and said, great, I'll just do a video, only to discover how hard it is to play them back during the thing. I'm counting on Stu to fix this in post-production. But in the meantime, I actually have figured out how to play this video, so I'm going to try and do that here. And let's just hope it works. Let's see. It is this. I'm going to share that. And then I need to come over here and change my audio input. And if all goes well in a moment, you'll see this thing work.
I'm Brooke Hoyer, and I'm a software engineer by day and amateur photographer, and family man, I guess. And I've taken pictures for a very, very long time. I mean, almost my whole life. I had an old Pentax, K1000 or something like that, my first camera, and in junior high school and high school I took pictures, and then when I went to college I was expecting to be a mathematician or scientist like my father, and nothing really stuck, and I almost went to art school. I took all of the prerequisites for art school and took some photography classes there, and then I chickened out and I got a degree in classical archaeology, And then I worked a little bit, and I got another degree in computer science, and I worked a whole lot, and I hardly took any pictures other than just snapshots. And then I was a rock climber and a bike racer, and then I had a couple strokes, and I couldn't be quite as intensively active as I had been, and so I went back to the photography, and I fell into this group of people who did a picture a day. I kept on taking a picture a day, and I got better. I think Vaughn and Len were talking about applying to the Arcanum, and I thought, well, what's that? And I checked it out, and I thought maybe that'd be something I'd be interested in. So I applied, and I kind of forgot about it. And then Vaughn got picked, and he was all excited about it and said that he had gotten picked. And then I was like, huh, well, maybe I'll update my profile, and I did. And then you picked me also, and it was just kind of a serendipity, I guess. Once I started in the Arcanum, I'd say my development has just taken off. I'd say I was dabbling before, and now I have a real serious idea of what I should be doing when I'm going out with a camera. I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit of my own voice, and one of the things that working in the Arcanum and specifically the Cohort has given me a sort of a permission to be a little more bold than I had been before. I think I went from just being a landscape photographer, who took a few family pictures once in a while, to being able to really, I don't know, delve into taking pictures of the human element in our daily lives. I really like people. With people, I've really, you know, I've really started taking a lot of pictures of people, and I like showing the human element, and I like being able to present people in, I guess, I hate to say inspirational, but an inspirational light. It's not like I'm trying to take the Olympics pictures where people are celebrating and that kind of thing, but just seeing the quiet moments or just little bits of and pieces of people's lives that they can kind of look back at and smile about maybe sometime in the future. Soon after we got to the tree line, one of my boot soles started delaminating, and we did field repairs, tied it together, just did whatever we could. The duct tape would be ground off by the pumice, so duct tape didn't even hold. I made it up to the top of the mountain, which once you get out of the trees, it's another 4,000 feet in altitude over 2 miles. And the last bit, you know, because of my boots, we had been moving slower than what we should have been doing, and so I really did this just incredible push as soon as I could see the pre-dawn happening to see if I could get up there for the sunrise. You know, I wanted to be up there for the sunrise, and the last bit is just through ash, and so I would walk and then have to rest, and then walk and have to rest, and you know, it's 8,000 feet up there too. It's high altitude, and I knew at some point, I just knew that I wasn't going to make the sunrise. I was going to be late because just couldn't make it. And I could see this guy right on the rim. I could see him up there. And I said, that guy's on the rim. I could see where he is. And I just, you know, I fixated on him. And is he getting closer? Is he getting closer? And I finally got up there, and the sun had just come up. But it was just beautiful. I mean, who cares? I missed the sunrise by 15 minutes, but it was still just wonderful up there. And I got out the camera, and I took some pictures. And then I walked along the rim a little bit, and I looked back, and there was that guy who's still just standing there looking out at the sunrise, the world in front of him. And I saw the Mount Adams in the background and the rim there, and that little bit of glacial ice up there high on the rim, and I just took the picture. I think your help's been great, and I really like watching all of the critiques. I just watched Antonio's and Vaughn's today, and I get a lot of help from that. But the sense of community, the other people, the other cohort members, the kind of support and just being able to see what other people are doing. I'm not putting myself up against what other people are doing so much as drawing inspiration from seeing other people's visions and seeing them develop.
Okay, and there you have it, sports fans.
You know, the part that really touched me in that whole video was when he talked about how he had a stroke and how he couldn't really be very active anymore. So he thought, well, what can I do that requires almost no effort? Oh yeah, photography. So I like that. That was moving.
All right, Doug, can you pull up that image of the final submission, and I will highlight it whilst we go around the circle.
You're muted, Doug, which is how we like you, but you know.
He's playing the quiet game. I can't even get my kid to play that. I can't believe I got him to play it.
Unmute yourself, Doug.
At some point, kids catch on to the quiet game, but until they catch on, it's a sweet panacea. Yeah, you switch your input. Switch back to that big black box. You're like Lily Tomlin. Just move the things around until you get the right connection.
Boy, you're bringing Lily Tomlin. That was a nice get right there, Trey.
I guess he's disqualified?
I don't know.
Yeah, the other masters want him disqualified for muting himself. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll always bring up the vague reference, Gino. You know that.
Yeah, that was nice, though.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, the image that we are going to critique is that image. If you can hear me, I feel like you're in a coma. Like if you can hear me, blink twice. Doug, okay, if you can hear me, put up the image of your apprentice. I think it was the one where the guy standing on the rim looking at the sunrise. I believe that is the image being critiqued. Okay. Now we will go around the horn. Starting with Laurie Rubin.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with this photo. I love, Doug, what you did, presenting us with the background of how this came to be. But honestly, if I didn't have that background and I saw this, it wouldn't have gotten my attention. There's a couple things right off the bat. And this is one of those things where there's emotional ties to images that us as viewers that might not know the background may not be so attached to it. So I'm throwing it out there. I'm going to be a Karen Hutton, okay? I'm putting on the Karen. So one of the things that is really distracting and it bothers me is this left-hand corner. You got some lens flare going on there. You're losing some detail. It's kind of washed out on the lower left-hand corner. And my eye is really drawn to the right because you've got that real bright highlight. Love the guy, standing on the bridge, but it's really lopsided. I don't feel like this is. I mean, it's a nice image, but I don't know. I think I would have submitted something else. I saw a couple of his other images that were pretty unique and had a different feel to them. But this one, not so much. I'm sorry, Doug. I love you, but I've got to pass on this one. So next.
Damn, Laurie, bring in the hate. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Hey, you guys, you got to tell it like it is. You guys don't hold back. That's what your apprentices appreciate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. James Brandon. Here we go.
Don't like it. Next.
Next up, Cliff Baise.
No, wait. In all honesty, I should not like it, just off of what Doug said. And yes, there are some definite faults in the image. I think all of which Laurie covered. I don't have really anything else to add. However, when I, first look at the image, my eye does go to that brighter spot on the ledge in the foreground, but then that curvature in the rocks takes the eye right over to the guy who's looking out at the mountain, and then I go over to the mountain, and that's kind of that feels right, just looking at the image like that. But yeah, I think it needs some contrast work and some saturation and everything that Laurie said, but yeah.
Okay, I agree with the saturation deal, and the colors can be brought up some more too. I think that like a third or a fifth of this image can be just cropped off the left side there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like they're trying to center up the mountain, but then the subject matter is kind of the guy. But then really the subject matter is kind of the guy and the mountain. So to have them maybe more evenly spaced in the frame might work a little bit better. I don't know. Just something to think about.
You probably just crop out the lens flare entirely.
Yeah.
Okay, last up is Glen.
Thanks, Trey. Well, I would say this is a classic concept photograph where you have a hero shot, you know, a hero in the landscape, because this is actually what makes it a commercial photograph more than a fine art photo. Because when you look at the image as a viewer, you tend to put yourself there in the place where that person is. And that would make you want to go to that location. So I think from that point of view it's successful. The scale is really interesting, and that's where he helps as well, the figure in the photograph. But I do agree with the other folks, and I want to congratulate Brooke, I think it is, on his presentation. It was excellent, and it's a wonderful introduction to who he is, and we get to see that more through his photographs. I would say though that I think his first image was my favourite, which was the shot of the tree way back in the beginning of the video. And I think Laurie mentions as well that this is probably not, from an objective point of view, the most successful photograph of Brooks that we've seen. I suspect he's put it there because of the story associated with it. But if you've got to sell a picture on the story, that's the problem. So I like it, but I don't think it's as good as his other work. No.
I think we have funded Doug.
He's gone. Doug Kaye, he dropped the mic. He's like, I'm out.
Okay, one down.
That was easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you want to go back to me or what?
3 and 4, these will forever be switched because that's how I'm keeping track on them. So now we'll go back to you, Cliff.
Okay,
all right,
ready.
and you go back to this this woman that sounds like a polysyllabic pizza. Go.
Her name is Lucia, and she's super nice.
My audio is working. All right.
Make sure we got that up there. All right.
You guys can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we've got visuals now up there. Little train action.
Train action. Over.
Okay. So this is a few of her pieces that she submitted, and she's got just super imaginative works, and they're really whimsical and creative, and I think her execution is really great. So these are just a few that she submitted, but then the one that I'm gonna submit for the Creation Wars is this image right here, where and she goes on her blog about how she created the whole thing, where she just came across a vine-covered street lamp, and then so.
Hey, will you show the blog?
Yeah, sure. I've got it.
Super cool how she did this.
Yeah, sure. Hang on.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump into the presentation of a master, but it's just so impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. So that brought up the. Okay. Can you all see her blog post there?
Yeah.
Okay, so she called it "Where Ideas Come From." It was done of May of this year, and as we scroll down, you can see here the pole that she got the dress that she eventually made it out of from, which is incredible. So there's the final image, and it kind of shows the background where she took it from, and then while she was on the spot, she just took her portrait there in the same light to blend it all together, and just came out with that. And as far as creation, I mean, there's nothing higher to me than that. It's just coming up with stuff that you can find on the street, and then coming up with something like this is just amazing to me. So that's my submission for this week.
Awesome. Hey, can you go back to the main picture and make your browser window smaller so that the photo takes up a bigger percentage of it? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
How's that?
Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking. Oh, yeah. Okay. Laurie Rubin.
Wow. Okay, so that is a term, wow, that I reserve for images that pretty much make me stop in my tracks. So I think, in fact, some of her other images were just incredible. They remind me a lot of Mark Johnson and some of those other people that do these really fanciful, just unreal type images. I can't say the word. There's a word I can't say, taboo, but it's just absolutely beautiful. And I love the background on this, being able to see where she grabbed all these different pieces and put them together. It's really hard, though, for me to critique a fine art piece like this because it is art, and I think it's beautifully executed. I think the lighting is lovely. It looks realistic and kind of an old world feel to it. I just really like it. I wish you could see it bigger. It's really hard for me to go in and kind of critique and look at the clouds and just see how that's done and the edges. So I have to just say it's just a really lovely piece. I love it.
Thanks. Hey, that reminds me. You know what we should do next week, Stu? A little off programming note here, and Gino and Tiff. It's that I know the masters have been really lovely in sending us the images ahead of time, because when Stu edits the final photo, he puts a super high-res photo in there because it just looks better than through the Hangout. But what we could endeavor to do next time is pop these into chat as they actually come up, so that all the masters get to see the full-res photo. They can, make it big on their screen and that sort of thing. So I think that's a much better way for us to do that in the future. So anyway, I'm just making a note of that. Okay, James Brandon, you're up next.
Well, she's clearly wearing stilts. There's no way she's that tall. So just off of that alone, I can't vote for this image. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh.
The sky looks nice, but I can't tell. Just like it would really actually help a lot to have the full res image so that we can look at it on our screen. So that's a great idea, Trey, because I can't ever tell on Hangouts on screen sharing if the artifacting is coming from just the downgrading of the image being streamed, because it looks like there's a lot of artifacting and stuff in the sky. I feel like that's probably not there, but I can't tell. The only other thing that I keep noticing when I look at the image is the dark bush on the bottom left-hand side, and it's so dark it's almost like doing the opposite of what would normally happen, where you go towards the brighter spots, but it's like a black hole and it's like sucking me down there constantly. And so something would need to be done with that bush, I would think, but that's the only thing I've got besides the sky and the stilts.
Yeah, there is a lot of bush there. Okay, next, Doug Kaye.
I just find myself agreeing with Laurie way too much in this show, other than when she trashed our cohort. But this is, for a street photographer, images like this are sort of beyond my comprehension. I can imagine doing the work, but the concepts are sort of beyond what I do. I think it's really good. I think, like Laurie said, some of her other work might be even better. And when you have something that's this dramatic, a lot of the rules of composition and things like the black thing on the left don't bother me so much, because we're so drawn to the figure and the image and the concept. Anyway, I like this image very much. I think it works quite well. I might lose a little bit of the sky, lose some of the top, but I like it.
I know, Trey, that you don't particularly care for my thoughts on any of these things, but I like to throw them in anyway to amuse myself. But I don't really see that as a little black blob down there on the right. I see that as like there's little purple flowers with definition. So I think some of that could just be your internet bandwidth or something not showing you all that detail, because I'm seeing a lot of detail down there.
I have excellent bandwidth, sir.
I'm looking at I found the full res version. I'm looking at it. I would share it, but I don't feel like it's fair because we haven't done that for everyone else's. But yeah, good feedback there, Gino. Okay, last is Glen Guy.
Thanks, Trey. I saw it, and you've always got to go with your gut reaction, don't you? And I think because the heart leads the mind, and I saw it, and the first thing I thought of was we have a winner. And then I remembered, there's still my photo to come. But nevertheless, no, it's beautiful, and it's wonderful that we've got such a different image in this series. It is conceptual, And what I really like about it is this blog post, because it talks about how straightforward the process was. Because if you look at the picture, you'd think this is really high-end art, but look at the way it was made. The concept is actually fairly straightforward. And, you know, Doug, I'd love it if you could get a video tutorial done on this, hosted by the artist, and share it, because I think folks in my community would certainly love to see it. I know they're going to love the image, and I suggest that's probably the case throughout the whole Arcanum. So I think it's a very, very strong image. I could definitely see it large in a contemporary art space. I think it's very successful. Congratulations.
Great, thanks, Glenn. By the way, that was Cliff's apprentice, not Doug.
No, I'll make the video with her, no problem.
Sorry, Cliff.
Doug cannot have her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point that you make, because we have, you know, apprentices that are all over the place. Some that are total beginners, which is fine, and then we have people like Lucia that are just unbelievable. You know, I'm sure, like, we've heard masters say week and week and week that they are humbled by some of the talent that is in their cohort. They just feel like they're riding the dragon. You know, they can't believe they're having to dispense some sort of wisdom to some of their apprentices. And so I think it'd be really cool if some of these apprentices that feel so inclined to make their own tutorial videos and submit them to the Grand Library. We haven't opened that up yet, but this is kind of in our plans. We have many, many stepping stones for the Grand Library, and I think that there's many apprentices who can make this kind of stuff. And also something that we're going to start up pretty soon, this is another announcement in coming weeks, is we have this other thing called the Candidate Master Track, in which some apprentices inside these cohorts may so choose to become masters someday, like Les Ingram and a few others that are doing this kind of thing. And you know, I see stuff like this, and I'm like, I want her to teach me. I think it'd be so cool if people like this can come up and be masters too, and just make the world a more awesome place. So anyway, more videos coming, and we can all be inspired by this stuff. Okay, moving on. Last up is Glen Guy.
Okay, thanks very much, Trey. So let's see. I have Torben Kuhl, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Torben is from Germany, and he's living in Norway at the moment, right up in the Arctic, in fact. And he's got a fascinating life. He's an outdoor guy, and he's out there a lot, making photographs all times of year. And this is just a little bit of his work to start with that he's submitted. He's now at level 7. I guess I was one of the last Inception Masters to join, so I have a couple of folks that have just done level 9. So we're still in the relatively early stages, but it's going brilliantly. So Torben's at level 7, and this is some work from level 4 I'm actually showing at the moment. So the Aurora, it's just fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, and this is a good example of when it's appropriate to put horizons around about the middle of the frame, because the reflection is as important as the sky, I think, in this case. So yeah, and it's a lovely shot. Little bit of Avalon going on in the middle of the frame there with that little island. And then this one. So this is what what he put in. It's not what I'd call the best of his work, but we had a really good discussion about all these photographs, so the community will remember this. But this is the sort of stuff he's out there doing. And that was an image that he's put a lot of work into, a HDR image that we've had some discussions on and worked through. So this is kind of an early attempt, but very powerful image. And it's just an epic landscape, really, isn't it? Again, this image has been worked a bit to improve the result, but this is what he put in, and yeah, he's living the life, I think, living the dream. So that's some of his early work, and let's see if I just show you 2 more. This is Torben when he's out and about, basically. He's here with one of his friends. He took the dogs on the sled, to get to this location and make the photograph in Santa Claus land. So it's kind of inspiring, isn't it, when a landscape photographer is really in the environment, rather than just jumping out of the car and go and click at a Kodak moment spot, you know. So yeah, he's fantastic. The photograph in question for today, I decided upon because of its uniqueness. I think it's a really highly structured image. It's interesting because he was in Tokyo in September, October on holiday, and he made this photograph. It features a view up towards the ceiling in the hotel lobby. So he's actually got the camera right down on the ground and pointed it upwards for this shot, and didn't care who was watching, you know, made the shot. And to me, you know, I'm a sci-fi fan like a lot of us, and this reminds me of some scenes in Babylon 5. Now that'll be controversial because I know folks are either you know, Star Trek or Babylon 5, but I kind of swing. And there's this sort of tram, you know, that would be in that space station and would transport people from one side of the station to another, a station that was 5 miles long. And this kind of reminds me of that. I love it because of its structured composition, the shapes, the repetition of shapes, and of tonality, light, dark, light, dark. I love the fact of the leading lines drawing us into what appears to be some sort of tram car, futuristic kind of tram car. I love the notion too, I'm interested in dualities, you know, opposites, and I love the notion of movement within a still photograph. And this just looks like it's exploding into the image, kind of like you see when a ship reaches warp. So I love it, and I hope you folks do as well. Thanks, Trey.
It kind of reminded me of Battlestar Galactica, you know, one of those, maybe Starbuck or Apollo, you know, Admiral Amidala or whatever his name was. Trey probably remembers. But
not Amidala. That was Natalie Portman's character in those horrible Star Wars movies.
Anyway, you know, they had those ports that their ships would fly out of.
Yeah, I know, the launch tubes. Glenn, what do you think about Firefly? I'm judging you now.
I watched Serenity, actually, the movie, again last night.
Yeah.
I would say I prefer Firefly, but it's all wonderful. And it's just such a tragedy that there were only, you know, that one series. I discovered it late. Like millions of people, I discovered it because of you, Trey. You know, shone the light, and I followed. And no, I think it's extraordinary. I love it.
Awesome. I'm glad you. I'm very careful with what I recommend. I think like that's one of the only TV shows I recommend, even though I have many others. Send me an email. That and then The Name of the Wind. These are my two big recommendations. If you people like these, then you level up as my friend. Okay. you may even become a Sphere 1 friend. All right. Yeah. I've got you all on a chart here in my office, like where you are. All right. Everyone only moves up, by the way. I haven't anyone moved down, so you got that going. Okay. Now time for critiques. Laurie, critique that image.
Okay, can I see that? Glenn, can you push that
Glenn, bring it
back up there?
Yes, sure thing.
Yeah.
While Glenn is bringing that up, I love that you introduced him what he really loves to do, and that's being a landscape photographer. And it just tickles me to see somebody who is in landscape or some type of genre of photography and then does something totally different. And that's the thing that you pick to showcase here. So that's 1 point just for that. So I love this. Black and white to me just will convert an image and tell a whole different story. If this was in color, it probably wouldn't be quite as dramatic, but because of the lines and the texture, it just is a really striking, powerful image, and it really draws your eye. You know, just those leading lines that just pull you into whatever this is, and it looks like a tunnel. If I didn't know or you didn't tell me that he was looking up, I would just assume that we're riding a rail towards this destination of who knows what on the other side. But really, really nice tones throughout this. That kind of flare in the middle makes it kind of sci-fi. I love this, and I wish I could pick it apart because it'd give my cohort, an extra chance here. But I think it's really nice. One thing, my eye is really drawn to the center, which is great, and it kind of hovers and keeps up at the upper portion of this image. I would like to see maybe a little bit more of the highlights pronounced down below a little bit more, so it's a little bit more evened out. That's the only thing I can really critique, but I love the tonality throughout this, and I think it's a really striking, very storytelling type image that makes you want to learn more. So good job.
Thank you.
Very good, Laurie. I like how you're dropping in these MacFun product names, like the tonality. You're just like, these are sweet
Tonality.
name drops.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to find a way to drop the word Intensify Pro in. I don't know how
I
you
will.
move that into conversation, but
I
if
will.
possible, I will support it. I did the first one for you there.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is James Brandon.
Yes. Seriously, killer image. I love it. Everything good that's been said about it, I agree. And it's really hard to find anything wrong with it because it's just got an excellent feel to it. It just feels like it's either coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour or going away. I can't really tell which one, but both of them kind of scare me. And so if there is absolutely like one tiny little thing I would say about it is that the right side and left side aren't exactly symmetrical. If those are windows going up or openings, I think it's like a hotel or something like that. The top right one and the top left one, you can see that on the right, the bottom right corner is cropped off, and on the left side, you can see it. And when you have a shot like this that is so critically symmetrical, I like to see the attention to detail where I can't find any flaws looking around the borders of the image. And that's the only thing I've got.
Awesome. Okay, Doug Kaye.
Trey, I think you invited me here just to get a difference of opinion. Is that right?
You're the wild card. You're the specter at the feast.
Well, this time I don't agree with Laurie. This image is technically quite good. The little bits of asymmetry didn't bother me. I did the same thing, though I looked around the edges and found the flaws in that sense. That's not too bad for me. But this is an image that I think every student of mine has done something like this. And I don't know that it's really special. When I started to see the landscape stuff, I said, oh boy, are we in trouble, because the landscape stuff was really pretty. And I said, you know, living in Norway is an unfair advantage, and nobody should be allowed to live in Norway and also submit images from Norway. It's just like cheating. This is it's a more interesting than usual scene in terms of looking up in a building lobby. It's technically pretty good, but it's not special for me.
Very good. Who's up next? Cliff.
Well, I think it is super cool. It's really like CGI kind of feel to me. Really futuristic and just almost like a cold steel feel to it. But like the center point almost reminds me of like an entity, the way it's glowing like that, and that really brings it to life for me. As far as any negative criticisms, I mean, I don't have any, but like, just I mean, I think it's really good. It, like, sparks emotion and curiosity, and I like the way that the very top has kind of different patterns going back to the main deal in the middle. It's almost like it's sending out Morse code or some type of message out, something like that. It's just kind of the feel I get from it. So I like it.
Cool. Okay, now comes the point when you guys are going to give your final statement of awesomeness for the apprentice that you represent. And in so doing, you're representing your entire cohort. Now, the way we'll do this, if each of you would pull up the image which you are representing, and it can just stay down there, I will switch between them. And each of you will take 10, 20 seconds to give us just like one final punch. And it will kind of remind us, because if your memories are like mine, I have no idea the first few images. Okay. Now, so we're going to go in reverse order. We'll start with you, Glen.
Okay, thanks, Trey. Well, here's an image from a young guy, very shy guy, who has a natural affinity for the landscape, who deliberately met a challenge, which was to move outside of your area of comfort and photograph a kind of alien type situation. And he's done a stupendous job in doing that. And I think the image works well, very big. because it adds that sense of scale. So I know you guys are going to love it, and I'm feeling really confident. And Doug, Kaye, I thought you were my friend.
By the way, Doug, I generally agree with your critique on that image. So that was very nice of you to, or I agree with you. Okay, next up, Cliff.
Okay, well, this is war, so we're not going to pull any punches here, but I just think that in creation wars, we're talking about like what can be created from what we have to work with. So as far as like a scale of the creation of this image that Lucia created for us here, I don't think there's really any question that she's clearly the winner out of all these.
All right, good. Heartfelt words there, Cliff Baise. Okay, Doug Kaye, you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, this is an image almost from the top of the world. I don't see that there's any question whatsoever. Perfect time of day, beautiful scenery, and I got to say, how can you not vote for a stroke victim? In fact, a double stroke victim. I mean, the heartstrings issue came up in the last Creation Wars, and I think you've got to play that card. There's no doubt about it.
Very good. Now, Doug, we're talking about your apprentice, not you. There,
Yes.
right? Okay, I just wanted to. I thought you might be having one like right now. I was gonna call.
No.
Okay.
And you still are my friend.
Thanks, Doug. Love you too.
Okay. And next is James Brandon.
All right. Well, I'll just bring this up again. Here's the best image of the group. I think it's not much of a competition. Cliff's came in close second, I think, but nobody remembers second, and that's the problem. But this would just be like the perfect image to me to have as like a desktop wallpaper, or just having it hung right behind me in my office. I might have to take Fred up on that. So, yeah, I'm right.
A bit of braggadocio. Okay. Laurie Rubin.
Okay, so I think this is an absolute spectacular animal image. And notice, I think we were the only ones showing the befores and afters, so I think we get extra points for doing that, right? Hopefully. But I think, showing that she took a pretty, I don't know, average picture from the zoo and created this piece of art where she really captured the essence of this lion and brought out the beautiful textures and the, the catchlight in the eyes. She just did a really beautiful job. It's very transforming. To me, this becomes a piece of art. It's not just a picture anymore. And I think that's what Creation Wars is all about, is being able to take a before image and make something spectacular out of it. And I think Tricia did just that. So please vote for her. We need redemption. Okay.
Very good. Okay, now I've sent you all your voting tablets. You should have them right now. Do not leave any hanging chads. Remember that just send them to me back in that format so that I can correctly tabulate them. Gino, you and I have no votes. Actually, that's not true. I do have a vote, but only in the case of a tie, which has never happened so far in the Creation Wars. But Gino, what is your favorite?
Well,
knowing A, that your opinion doesn't matter, B, that your opinion will not likely sway votes in the direction of your vote, and possibly C, it may take votes away from said image.
Well, in that case, I love Doug Kaye's apprentice's image. No, actually, the one I liked the most was the one that was very shallow depth of field with the circular lens flare in the middle of it and all the bokeh. There was 2 or 3 of them here that were the Battlestar Galactica images, I will refer to it as. I also liked quite a bit, although it did distract me that it wasn't perfectly symmetrical. But the sun flared bokeh, small depth of field image from Glen, from James, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
That was the one I liked the most.
Okay, the votes are rolling in.
Just nitpicking apart things that could have been taken out was just small and petty.
So now comes my very confusing tabulation task, in which I'll just check out the conversation for 5 minutes while I check, double check, triple check. Okay, so Gino, the
Well,
show
that's
is
why they
yours.
call you Shadowcar, Lightfinger, and Six String, Trey. No, nobody, even Trey, gets that reference, I guess.
Trey, can you clarify something? Because at the last Creation Wars, you said that we could give up to 3 talents to our favorite. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact,
Oh,
I already have an error from one of our masters.
I'm fixing it.
I will not say which master has made an error. They may make it clear themselves, but you cannot give any more than. Okay, let me try to explain the voting to the public. In fact, the voting is clearly so inscrutable that our highly intelligent masters have already made a mistake. Every week there's mass confusion. You guys should have seen me, or you should have seen the message or the voting message that Jessica Lark sent me. I mean, it was almost in binary. I had to sit there and figure out who the hell Jessica was voting for forever. Remember, I showed it to you, Gino, afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, it's inscrutable.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's
everybody, here's how it works. Every single master has 5 silver talents. Okay, this is a unit of currency in a book. They can give these talents to various apprentices that they want to win the challenge. All right, they have 5. They cannot give any more than 3 to any one individual, which is a mistake that was just made. And they can give 0 talents to their own apprentice because there's something called a conflict of interest with which perhaps you are familiar. Okay, that's the rules of voting. Okay,
So
and I will tabulate them thusly. Gino, you have the show.
All right. So here's the thing that I notice each week that happens is that as the masters are showing the pre-images from their apprentice, I always see, and I suspect that the other masters see, an image that they think is actually the one. And then the master shows a different one. And it's usually completely different. It's not even close to the image that we were all like, oh my God, that one, look at that one right there. So, and that's one, and these will wrap up into a group thing. The second thing is that the master is usually like completely in love with, oh, this image right here, it blows my mind, changed my religion over this image. And then the other masters are all like, yeah, well, you know, you got some issues, it's not that great. So the thing that I think is interesting about those two things is how much photography and really art in general is completely, you know, up to the, yeah, it's completely subjective. Because while the one master thinks it's the best, the other masters think another one was the best, and so forth and so on. So what do you guys think about that? So I guess my point is then that these criticisms, like you say, oh, this could have been different or that could have been different, isn't that really just for the master level people? I mean, like if Doug sees an image and he notices a little something, 99.9% of the walking planet will never notice it or care.
Yeah, but those are the kinds of things that we work with our students on.
Yeah. But for whose benefit?
Well, because you may not notice it consciously, but you might notice it subconsciously, and removing the distractions, the things at the edges of the image, and so forth, really can make an image quite a bit more powerful.
Yeah, that's kind of what separates the professionals from the amateurs too. Is that extra 10%? You know, the 90% is easy. It's the extra 10% that you finish up with that really, you know, polishes it off and makes a difference.
Yeah, I think inside an educational institute, I shouldn't use that word, inside the Arcanum, we've got a responsibility to try to raise the bar with every kind of standard you can imagine, but then the artist themselves has to understand in the real world that people will look at the image in a different way, and so I think everyone's right in what they're saying, you know. Yeah. Because that's why they have People's Choice Awards, don't they? Because they're so different to what the formalized kind of committee would vote on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a fine wine. Like somebody who's never had wine before who just doesn't like it could taste a $200 glass of Cabernet, and be like, oh, yeah, it tastes okay. But just because the average person can't tell that it's an excellent wine doesn't mean you shouldn't that winery shouldn't strive for excellence, because there are people out there who can taste the differences, and you want to have it pass their test too.
Sometimes you'll come across an image that's so good that the only thing you can say is, how come the horizon isn't straight? And I think as masters we learn that we have a range of apprentices, and we work with them on different things depending on their skill levels too. Hey, I want to bring up one thing that I happened to watch number 2 just earlier today, and I'd like to get some feedback from the other masters on this. There was a discussion. A lot of the masters in number 2 were saying, I really want to know what the photographer intended. They wanted to know the story up front. And although I have to admit I presented Brooks' image with his story behind the image, when I do critiques, I don't want to know. I don't want to know the name of the image. I don't know the story behind it. I certainly don't want to know the backstory about what was outside the frame, what it smelled like, what the temperature was like. My feeling is images need to stand on their own. So this idea that everybody should say, I want to know what was on the photographer's mind before I judge the photograph, seems anathema to me. What do the rest of you think?
Well, isn't that kind of like you saying the stroke victim, though? Like, oh, he's got a stroke victim. So you're giving information bias, which I'm not picking on you. I know you were just kidding.
I was purely going for votes. Come on.
Yeah. I know you were just joking around, but that kind of information bias, it's the same thing. Once you get too much information, then it influences how you can critique something, because now your heart's getting involved instead of your brain.
Yeah, no. If I had it to do from scratch, and we didn't have this format or venue, I would present images without any introduction.
Yeah, in fact, for my critiques, I don't even look at the images before, that final moment when I'm actually looking at them, because I don't want to be swayed by the feedback that the other cohorts have put on the image. I think that an image should stand on its own without the backfill, because again, I talked earlier, there's that emotional tie that you get to an image once you find out more about it, but it should be able to stand on its own.
I usually take the same approach. But what I would say is that it's horses for courses. Social media's taught us this, hasn't it? You engage with your community as much through the story you tell as through the photos you make, but and the stories bring people to your photos. But I don't need to know much about an image. I like to just respond to it, and whether it's what the photographer intended or not is kind of irrelevant. I think that's a good lesson for all photographers. We don't want to be dictating to people how they should read a photograph. We want it to be interesting enough that they can just go on their own little journey based on their own background and their own life. So it's a very interesting discussion. Sorry, Cliff, did I interrupt you?
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, a lot of the times it's just not that complicated. Like sometimes it's just like you spot beautiful, click. And it's just, that was the thought that you had into it. I mean, that's the whole story. Or awesome, click. And, there's just, sometimes it's just not that complicated, where there's no, like, what was the artist contemplating at this point, and this and that. Sometimes it's just like capturing the moment without any, like, backstory or whatever. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, I think, what I think happens, Cliff, is that, there's this. And I agree with you, of course, as you know, but I think that, there's this idea that everyone sees the world differently, and I think no matter what your particular discipline of photography is, you may assume or overplay that particular subgenre. And there are many genres of photography where the photographer has to have some kind of intent, like they have to have a plan. Yeah. They had to set things up, set up a scene, like your apprentice did, Lucia. There's a thought process that's happening there, which is beyond, I think, people like me, where I'm just like, I walk into a place and I'm like, wow, it's so pretty, I'm going to take a picture. That's about the alpha to omega of my thought process. Like, it's super beautiful. I'm going to see if I can capture this beauty. I'll do my gentle best. And yeah, you can like come up with all these interpretations, or I could write multiple paragraphs about the journey of this photo and all this happy horse shit. But really, it's just nonsense.
He said
Horse.
Trey said horse.
He said horse.
Horse.
Sorry,
Horse.
Horse. Was that a taboo word?
Yeah.
No, wait, I didn't say horse. I used the compound word, so I used like the whole thing.
You said horse.
Yeah.
But also,
there was a hyphen.
do you know, I gave you the taboo word assignment, and once again, you have failed because, as you know, there are no one-syllable word allowed. You can't do it.
Well, you know what? That's your interpretation. We came up with our 5 taboo words that we weren't going to tell Trey about. So you're not in on it this week, Trey. You're out. You're out of the loop, pal.
Well, you say that I have a bad interpretation, but this is in fact impossible since I am the one that made the rules.
Yeah, I know. That's why we went all the way around the rules when you were out of the room.
Okay, well, we'll do this. Okay, well, 2 things are going to happen. Okay, during the after show party. Okay, we're about to announce the winner here. I have tabulated the results finally. 2 things will happen in the after show party.
Throw me off the show?
No. No. Now, the first thing that'll happen is we will do this emergency critique. We're going to pull one of the patrons. Thank you, patrons, by the way, that put money into the show every week. And those of you that are at that $5 label, you do get to see the after party, which will be awesome. The second thing that'll happen is I'm going to paste. I'll share my screen. Everyone sent me their results in, right, using this formula that I send out. Only 1 out of 5 masters sent me things in the exact format that I wanted them. And it was the master that I least expected to get it right, and that was Cliff Baise.
Oh, come on.
So congratulations, Cliff. Everyone else was very close. I will tell you that the worst one actually is the person that I expected to follow my letter of the law most exactly was Laurie Rubin.
No.
Laurie's result, I just had to reformat. There was a lot of confusion. I'll show you.
Sorry.
Anyway, people don't want to hear about my tabulation woes. They want to hear who the winner is. All right?
We're not here to criticize the masters.
No, I'm not criticizing the masters. Just their voting techniques, their copy and pasting techniques, and ability to follow simple instructions. Which, by the way, I made the instructions more and more simple every week, so there could be very little room for error, but there's still massive error.
Yeah, but wait a minute. The bottle of wine is empty. What do you expect?
Zeros instead of X's. Just start it out that way.
Yeah. Okay. So, the winner. And I never announce exactly what the votes are. Okay, we keep it a little bit mysterious, but I'm sure because I double-checked everything. And there was a very close second place, by the way. But the winner, with absolute ontological certainty, is who? Shall we guess? I will tell you, it is Cliff Baise. Yeah.
All right.
Her name is Lucia. Will you try the last name once again?
Yeah, Lucia. Forget it. I'm not even going to try.
Lucia Forgetia.
Wonderful Lucia.
Okay, will you share the image one more time, just so people can see it? This was a complaint from our esteemed CEO, the first show, that we did not share the final image.
Okay.
We'll all give it a round of applause when it appears.
You're asking a lot of Cliff in the current situation.
Yay! Good job, Lucia. But thank you very much to everybody that put in an image. Thank you to the 5 masters. Thank you to all the cohorts. It was really it was amazing. So many great images. I feel honored to set my eyes upon such beauty for the evening. So
and we can all leave thinking that we got second place.
Yes,
we're all winners.
Part of the intent. Yeah.
I think it was not just the image, but Cliff's irrefutable logic that the show is called Creation Wars, and you can't argue that his apprentice was the one who actually created an image in the truest sense.
No, he did play that very well. He did play that very well.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Well done. And also, I think one of the plain facts that no one is talking about here is that Cliff is just so darn likable that he just attracts he attracts no 0 votes.
Everybody throws him a bone, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a fair question. Did Cliff actually get no 0 votes? That you can tell us that.
Let me return to the tabulation here.
Okay, because that doesn't give away any secrets. While you're doing that, I just want to say I think it was very well deserved. I think my apprentices and my court are awesome, but Cliff, that was just an excellent image, and you got some good stuff there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm lucky to have her. Just can't wait to get into more stuff with her.
Right.
Gino?
What have you found, Trey?
I have discovered that it did receive 0 votes from one person.
Okay.
Oh.
All right,
James,
But that person was
you.
Cliff Baise, who once again followed the directions.
Did he win by 3 votes by any chance?
No, and of course you're tipping your hat there, but no, not. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, those are really good photos tonight. So cool, you guys. All right, hey, so you go ahead, Laurie.
But I was just going to say, I don't think this whole thing is about, who's better, who's worse, that kind of competition. I think this is an inspiration, encouraging, others to keep moving forward. I think everybody's work was great, and just, kudos to everyone. So.
Very good. Yeah. That was a very sensitive female thing to say. Thank you. All the men here are thinking all the men here are thinking thank God I won, or they're thinking anyway. It's all competition for them. Yeah. But really, Laurie, what you say is in the true spirit of the Arcanum, that it's about inspiration and getting better. So if we could just get all these males to stop this maelstrom, then perhaps we could get back to the core of it all.
Okay. Where's Karen when I need her? Karen.
She's always here in spirit. She's saying,
yes, she is.
Way to go, girl.
That's right.
Tiff better unmute her mic and join in. I think they're getting it up on Laurie here.
Yeah. Come on, Tiff. Join in this Estrofest.
Say something.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry.
Tiff, what was your favorite image?
What was my favorite image? I was tossing up between Lucia's, because I like that kind of work and I'm trying to do that sort of work myself, and tossing up between that and the image that Glen put in, the sci-fi stuff.
Cool.
That really got me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are my two favorites.
You like composite work, you would say.
No, conceptual is what I said.
Where are the sound effects?
Yeah, he said composite.
Yes, composite was one of our secret words. But I cheated. I used it myself. So.
Nice
all right,
try.
you guys. So let's go around the horn and we'll share some recent work, and you can talk about some photos you've taken or give a hot tip or whatever. Let's go in our normal order. Laurie, you want to go first?
Sure. Let me share this screen. I don't know. Hopefully you can see this. Here I go again. Hang on. I don't think I want to show this one. What I want to do is I want to show how you can take an image and really create a different look. So let me just end the screen for a second. Share it again. Hold on, I've got to bring up my...
By the way, Tiff, over there in the chat, I see that you wrote Babylon 5 for the win.
Yes.
You're a big fan, huh?
Yes. I own every episode and every movie. That is my secret.
It is my secret shame.
Yep. Not so secret now.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that show. It's fine. I never got into it for some reason, and I was a huge sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
I've watched probably a few seasons of it, but something didn't click with me.
Yeah. Well, it was my husband's favorite, and when we first started dating, he came around and gave me the first box set and said, if you want to date me, you need to like this. So, yeah. But I liked it anyway, which was lucky. So, yeah.
It's very romantic. I gave my wife the box set of Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer. Haven't heard that one.
Well, I'll send you a YouTube link to the to that show. Super archaic reference.
I'm scared now.
Okay, go ahead, Laurie.
Okay. So
I don't chatter while you do that. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So everybody sees the zebras up on the screen? Do you see
Yes,
the
we see
zebras?
it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Trey, you'll appreciate this. This was taken in Africa, in Amboseli. And, I do webinars a lot between, when I used to do webinars for Nick Software and now I'm doing for Mac Fun. And what's really fun is you're doing these webinars and you're showing them how to use software. In this case, I was using Tonality. And you come up with these different looks. And so I turned this into a kind of a sepia look, but I added texture to the background, which I never did before. I'll just show you this before. See that before? And now if you look at after, that just adds a whole different dynamic to this. It looks like it's windblown. They're kind of facing themselves against the wind, and it's a much more dramatic image. So it's just really fun to experiment, and I really like to encourage people to kind of step out of their element and try something new. So that's with textures. Here's another image here of an owl, and again, black and white, and adding kind of a textured background just adds kind of a different element to this. Becomes a different, storytelling type image. And then just as a little tip here, because I shoot at zoos a lot and I love to offer tips to people, one of the main things is when you're shooting through glass, you get this kind of green, awful reflection. And this is one of those throwaway pictures. And I tell everybody now, don't throw away your images because we've got such great software out there that you can actually recover certain things. So I took this image and took it into Tonality. And you can take it and create a nice sepia portrait image of a bear here. So my tip is just, try new things, experiment, get out of your comfort zone. If you've never tried black and white, I certainly encourage you to do that because you get this whole different look and feel with an image. So that's my tip. Okay.
Awesome. Good one, Laurie. Next up is who? James.
Yes. All right.
I will go
Screen share.
last as usual. By the way, I've heard that we have a secret image coming from Stu, who visited the Isle of Skye, where he dunked his A7.
Nice. All right. You guys can see? Yes?
No, I see black.
Uh-oh. Stop sharing. Okay, screen share, entire screen. How about now?
Yeah, it's black.
No, you're having technical
Okay, I wonder
issues.
if it's because I'm in the other screen.
It's all right. You can practice for a second. Hey, Doug, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I didn't know about this ahead of time, so while you were doing this, I grabbed some images to show. As I say, I mostly do street photography, and most of the time I'm using somebody else's camera. Is that one showing up?
Yes.
Okay, so just someone doing some interesting makeup through a glass window, more street photography while I was doing a review of the, I think this was the Lumix LX100. And I went to Iceland while everybody else was doing landscape. I was doing street photography. Reykjavik turns out to be a great town for street photography. You get really interesting people and doing interesting things. And but I did get some landscape shots. Oh, they have Vikings in Iceland. This is one of my Vikings. Right? But there's some real landscape stuff there too. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Any landscape photographer really should make a point of getting to Iceland. There's really nothing quite like it. That's it.
Very cool. James, did you fix your issue?
All right, let's see. Did that fix it?
No, you're still having strangeness happen.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, Cliff, you want to go?
Yep. Okay. It's unmuted.
Just giant eyes.
Street photo.
Yes.
Love it.
I went to the Renaissance Festival a few weeks ago and went pretty girl hunting and found a couple there. So this was one of them. I thought she was pretty stunning. Those eyes are pretty amazing. So then just doing some still processing photos from Burning Man, like thousands. You know how it is.
Wow.
This is one of my favorites.
Oh, it's like Firefly.
It's like Firefly.
Serenity, the ship, yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of Trey's moments.
Which one's Trey? It's
I'm
like
the
a
umbrella.
mirror.
That's a cool
And also,
shot.
I just wanted to say that you know, as masters, we should also never stop learning. So I'm excited to say that just today I signed up for Renee Robbins' 2-day masterclass in January. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome, very cool. By the way, that's one thing that we're going to do. Actually, I didn't expect this, but when we open up Sphere 2, and then we have like a few masters become level 30. A few of the masters have expressed an interest to me and Pete that they would like to become apprentices or whatever of other masters, and so they could level up from level 21 to level 30 if they so choose. That might be kind of fun. Okay, last up is Glen.
Okie dokie. So I thought I'd just run you through a couple images first of all. Because I'm a generalist, I do a few different things, and I brand myself as a travel photographer. This one, Trey, you'll recognise down at Lake Wanaka.
Awesome spot.
Yeah, it really is. Down the South Island of New Zealand. This is on the top of a spectacular mountain in China called Huangshan, or Yellow Mountain. I did a 3-day hike across the top, staying at hotels on the way. But it's they get millions of tourists. But I went in the middle of winter, and over 3 days probably saw no more than 100 people, and they were at the buffet. So it was spectacular. I'd really recommend it, Trey, as a place to go next time you're back in China. It's not far from Shanghai.
I have. By the way, Glenn, in the after show, reminded me. Let's just let's riff a little bit on Chinese photographers.
Oh, okay.
In China.
I don't know that I can add much to that actually. I'm not aware of any, but I'd be very interested to hear what you say. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will speak prophetically, and you can nod your head.
Okay.
Okay. Go on, Glenn.
And this is down in Antarctica. I co-ran a tour there back in 2010. Oh, sorry, South Georgia Island on the way to Antarctica. And, these are the baby penguins. They've got this tremendous amount of down on them, which really sort of inflates their size. And, you can move in really, really close and monumentalize them against the landscape. They're really cute. I'm really into composition in my photographs. So often, for instance, that photo to me really is about blue. I suppose that's more of an environmental take on the landscape. This one's about colour contrast more than it is about penguins. And that one's really about the shape. Pretty simple approach, but that's how I approach my photography. And I really like black and white as well, and that one's, where's that? I think that's in St. Petersburg, Peterhof Summer Palace, the Tsar's Summer Retreat. And this, I'm also interested very much in the human condition. My favourite films deal with the human condition, my favourite books, and needless to say, my favourite photography. So this is one of the porters carrying supplies from the chairlift up to the hotels for folks like me. This is the path you walk upon, and there's no road up to the top. So they've got a pretty hard life. To make life easier for folks like me. And I do love portraits. India's a fascinating place. And when I made this photograph, it was really about texture. So that's why I chose to take the colour out, picking up on something Laurie spoke about before. Sometimes I think colour does get in the way. So there's a few images, and if I may, here's my site, which I think you can see, Travel Photography Guru. Oh, you'll notice there's a fantastic Photography Cemeteries ebook available up the top there. But yeah, this is my site, the homepage here, and blog posts. So I've got a blog that I, is currently, it's updated regularly, different portfolios there. And thanks to Trey, I got right into, Creative Commons. So I'm a huge fan of that. And that's a major part of the way I structure my site. Thanks for that.
Right on, cool. Everyone go buy that ebook. I'm not sure what it costs, but it's a bargain at twice the price.
$10.
All right. James, do you think you're able to figure out your situation?
Unless you guys can see it right now, then I'm out of luck. There must be some kind of glitch going on.
It's
They
black.
worked earlier. Yeah.
No, it's still black, it looks like.
No worries.
Black as your heart.
Yeah. No problem. Okay, so I'll share some photos, but I'll do something different that I've never done. I'll share family photos. I just came up with the idea. I'll just show a quick collection. I'll try not to be like, one of these people that shares like, overshares family photos. So speaking of quadcopters, Laurie, here's one taken with a quadcopter. We all laid down on the beach and I took a photo. So this is actually on the way to the beach. I made my daughter command the kayak while I kind of took care of the quadcopter to make sure it didn't get wet. That's on the way over to the little island. She was only 8. I was trying to get her a little bit buff. I don't know why that one's so small. I'm sorry. This is my son, Ethan. Yeah, as you guys know, I don't do a lot of black and white stuff, but whenever I do black and white and I see like amazing black and white stuff from Glen and other masters and other apprentices, I think, gosh, I should really do more of it. That's that. Here's my youngest daughter. It kind of worries me just how she's so relaxed, like on the back of this yacht. I think, oh God, the high maintenance woman coming down the pike. Here she is again. She loves to pose. I mean, you guys take photos of kids on occasion, I'm sure, and every now and then you get those kids that just like to pose. You think, oh God, here we go. Here she is again. I said, would you mind posing? And like she just would sit in one position for 3 seconds, switch to the next. There's no hesitation. It's unbelievable. It kind of reminds me, there's this Alan Watts quote that, kids know that the world is so weird, and so they don't mind being weird with it. It's only adults that want it to be normal. Here's my son. I gave him my glass to go to school with, and I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. It's so different than when we went to high school, isn't it? This is his first year at high school. Look at these kids just sitting around, just teching it up. So cool, I think. I don't lament it. I'm cool with it. I just think it's kind of cool. Speaking of teching it up, here's my son and my wife. I think she looks cute when she wears that hat. They're flying a quad. Here's my daughter, the youngest one again. This is shot with like a 200 millimeter, I think. Whenever I take pictures of my kids with a strong lens, I think, oh, they look so awesome with a big lens. I should do that more. This is that same lens on my son, Ethan, and my daughter, Scarlett, there. I took this photo actually while I was with Cliff, and I give full credit to Cliff for giving me this idea. We have these big kind of grassy things here, and I got it with a super shallow depth of field. I think it was 1.4, and I was basically like laying in the grass like a lion, just shooting right through the grass, and it just gave it this really nice effect. So thanks, Cliff. That was awesome.
Anytime, buddy.
Yeah, and here's my daughter and my wife, and it's like super out of focus, but that's okay. It's all right. I mean, I think if it's going to be out of focus, it should be like really kind of weirdly out of focus, like that. Here's one that I like of my daughter, Isabella. We found a cool little dock here off the Queenstown Lake. This is my daughter Isabella. Those are her favorite little gum boots. So I had her stand up on the ledge and take that photo. Here's the last one I'll leave you with. This is on Easter. They were running around this place near here called the Hills. We have this guy that dresses up in this giant bunny suit. He's as gay as a $3 bill, and he just runs around throwing eggs all over the place, and the girls run around and pick up behind him. And it just looks so cool behind him. It reminded me of stained glass window or something. Anyway, that's that.
Very nice. You didn't show your daughters with the miniature horse.
No, I didn't show that one. I share that one so much. I feel like people have seen that photo, so I didn't want to share that. Yeah.
Beautiful, Trey. Beautiful.
Well, it's not me. It's them. They're the pretty ones. Yeah. In fact, they don't look much like me. They look a little bit like the FedEx man. All right, man. Well, you guys got anything cool going on this this coming week? Any big adventures or anything you want to talk about?
I've got a gig coming up Saturday week. I started playing guitar again after many, many years not doing it. And I'm in a band. We're changing our name. We had a really nifty name, but the girls didn't like it, so we had the girls in the band, so we had to change it. We've got a gig up in the country at a friend's resort, and that'll be fun. Yeah. Saturday week.
You know, it's
All right.
interesting, Trey, how many photographers you get on the show that are also guitar players. Have you noticed that?
It's really remarkable. I have no musical skills at all, and I know a lot of
That's not true.
photographers
You turn on a radio a couple of times.
Yeah, that's the extent of it. I can play an MP3 like nobody's business. But
Well, I'm really
you play,
just a strummer.
Gino, you play.
Yeah, in fact, as I'm staring at my fingers, because while we were camping this last week, I just got back from 10 days of camping, hardcore camping, and we do it every Thanksgiving. We have a couple of, literally, this year was pretty light. We had probably about 100 people show up. We've had hundreds of people show up before, and we rent out the entire park. We'll do it 11 months ahead of time. Like in about a month from now, we'll all start emailing saying, hey, where do we want to go next Thanksgiving? And we'll all rent the park out 10 to 11 months ahead of time. That way we can guarantee we all get in together. And then probably 20 of us all play guitars or bass or harmonica or something like that. And we'll just start a big bonfire every night and start playing. And we'll play for 4 or 5 days. And by the time the end of the 4 or 5 days are over, you have these crazy calluses on your fingers. And you've learned a bunch of new songs, and it's just the best. And I don't have any photographs to show you because I just got back today. But on next week's show, I'll have some photos from this last week that'll show some of the guys sitting around playing.
Cool.
So
you should invite all these Texans down there. You could bring James and Cliff and Curtis. I bet they joined you down there.
Yeah, well, it's always in Texas. This time it was at Huntsville, which is just about it's about an hour north of Houston. Sometimes we go to Garner State Park, which is over in the Texas Hill Country, but it's always somewhere within 3 hours of Austin.
Right on. Hey, Stu, you're so quiet. I sometimes forget you're there, but I apologize. But you had a photo of the Isle of Skye you wanted to share, yes?
Yeah, I can do, yeah.
Which, by the way, has always been on my list to visit. I think, so on Pinterest, I have this list. I'll just talk while you pull up your photo. On Pinterest, I have a list of places I want to go in the world. Sort of a visual list. I used to keep a text list, but I thought that's lame. Let's take a visual list. So now I spend a bit of time on Pinterest and I pin all these places I want to go someday. And there's this one shot from the Isle of Skye that makes it look like the most impossibly awesome place in the world. And it's super hard to get over there, but it's on my list. Do you know this shot I'm talking about, Stu?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. It's one of the areas I'm going to head to the next time that I'm there. But yes, I can't even remember the name of it because the names are very complicated up there. But it's not that hard to get to. It's just a few hours drive from where I am anyway. And this was. Can you see that shot that I've got up now? Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the shot that caused me to kill the camera. And I thought it was going to be the shot of the day, and so I was reasonably happy with that. But in the end, the one that I liked the most was one from earlier on in the day.
Cool.
And this was just a little bit of a hike out in the middle of nowhere, because I was looking a bit further back and I thought I was have the 200mm lens on and it would look really nice. But actually, once I'd wandered a bit further into the wilderness, this was the one I went for. So I was reasonably pleased with that, and I think that will probably make it into my next critique.
This is very nice, Stuart. No wonder you're level 18. Super impressive.
Yeah.
Super impressive. All right, thanks for sharing that. All right, well, we're about to begin the after party here, where things get a bit cray-cray. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thanks for all the amazing submissions. Thank you to all the great masters that have joined us, and of course everyone else that's watching. We're all working hard to make the Arcanum better together. We're nothing without you. And I think all of us creating together, inspiring each other, is actually making the world a a more awesome and more conscious place. So I really thank you guys for your time and attention and care and everything. I know I speak on behalf of Curtis and Pete when we really thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This show is just sort of like the tip of the iceberg. It's just sort of a silly, fun excuse for us to get together, but it's like a wonderful excuse, and I'm really happy to do it with you guys. So anyway, thank you very much. All right. So now comes the show, part of the show where we just kind of wave goodbye, and our little squares are down there, and everyone seems happy, and this sort of thing. Okay, bye everybody.
That is so tacky.
Bye, Laurie. Thanks, James. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Gino.
Thanks,
Cliff. And of course, the heroes, Stuart and Tiff. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, rock.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.